So recently, Gary Stevenson of Gary's Economics fame posted this video to his Twitter profile addressing Reform voters. Now, as someone who is likely to vote Reform at the next election, because what choices do we have, I decided that I would respond to it and try to explain to Gary why his message isn't very persuasive. Now, before we begin, I just want to be clear, I actually don't mind Gary. A lot of people find him frustrating, and I've got to admit, I do have my frustrations with him. But I think that fundamentally, he is trying to do the things that he says he wants to do. I don't think he's lying. I think he's not a bad guy, but he's just got such a different perspective on what's happening with the country and the world that, frankly, I just don't see how or why the right wing in Britain would want to cooperate with the radical left. And that is, in fact, how I see him. I'm going to play this video and then we'll talk some more about his points.
I just want to make it very, very clear, because I know probably if you are a Reform voter, you might be hearing things online about me, that I'm a radical leftist or whatever. I do this for you. I do this for all of the hard-working men and women in this country and across the world who see their living standards falling. There is a space for you here. But there's something else I need to say as well. Listen, I'm from London and I grew up in a very multicultural place with lots of people, lots of different colours, lots of different countries. And last weekend, I had friends who were scared to leave the house, were scared to walk on the streets in London. And that's because they think you're racists. That's what they think. And I tell those people that you're not all racists, that a lot of you are just worried about the future of this country. And they don't believe me. So I need you to prove me right. And if you see racists in your movement, you need to do something about that. If you guys are not able to aggressively find your common ground and unity, that division will tear this country apart and will destroy the living standards for your futures, your kids and your grandkids. And I'm not saying that just to the right, I'm not saying that just to the left, I'm saying that to everyone. If you are divided, you will lose. You will spend your time fighting each other and the rich will take everything. You're going to need each other. Don't forget that.
So like I said, I don't think he's a bad chap, actually. And so, Gary, if you're watching this, I want you to really pay attention to what I'm talking about. Right? And I know that in your mind, what I'm about to say will sound racist. But I need you to understand that just doesn't matter. Calling people racist is a time that has passed. If you think that I am willing to let England go because of a word, because of stigmatization, then you are wrong. Now, Gary begins by saying he's trying to improve everyone's living standards. And don't get me wrong, high living standards are a blessing and we'd love to have them. But I voted for Brexit, and I understood when I voted for Brexit that actually my living standards might go down. I don't really care that much about my living standards. I've been desperately poor, and I've been successful, like you, in fact. So I have been on both sides of those things, and it wasn't brilliant fun to have no money, but it wasn't the end of the world either, because I had friends and family, and I lived in a place that I recognized and felt familiar with, and I could enjoy just existing in the social fabric of my community, and that's what's under attack. So when you argue about material standards, you're actually missing the forest for the trees. You're not understanding what it actually is that's being taken away, because it's easy to measure the material deprivation that a person's under, but that's not the end of the world. You can survive having these things taken away from you. You can rebuild. You can build yourself back up from nothing to something very successful. But what you can't survive, what you can't recover from, is the demographic destruction of your nation. When that goes, it's gone forever. when you are dispossessed, when you feel like an alien in your own land, then that can never be brought back. Now, Gary tells us that he was born and raised in multicultural London. And so for the remainder of this video, I'm going to put up a GIF. And that GIF is going to show you the English population of London over time. And I'm literally going to leave this playing for the rest of this video. And Gary, if you're watching this, I want you to look at that GIF. I want you to fixate on it, focus your eyes on it, and realize your experience is not representative of the experience of this country. And so while you may not have had that homogenous high trust society that the rest of us grew up in, that doesn't mean we want to give it away. That doesn't mean we want to sacrifice it. And that might mean that you don't have the full comprehension of what it is people are objecting to. Because like I said, all of our families come from poor communities, Gary. Both sides of my family, dirt poor. Absolutely dirt poor. But what they had was each other. What they had was an understanding of the kind of psychic landscape around them. They could read the minds of their friends and neighbours and wider community. They knew what they were doing. They knew what their intentions were. And they knew how they would feel and act in almost any given situation. And what that did is give them a sense of rootedness and belonging and safety. It made the world normal and predictable and worthwhile. And it's a beautiful thing. Now, like I said, you may not have had that. And I'm, frankly, sorry that you didn't have that. But if we go back to, say, 1991, when London was 80% English, I'm sure you were going to have been born around that sort of time. You were born in the dispossession of the English from their own capital city. And you say, well, I grew up in this multicultural place with people from all different countries. And that's the rub, isn't it? If this country goes to hell, they have somewhere they can go. They have somewhere to which they can flee. They can go to a place that if there is 1 million racists on the street of London and they are just rampaging around, they're furious, Gammonzilla has awoken, well, these people can go somewhere. These people have somewhere they can go where there are people like them, people who they understand, people who recognize them as one of their own and will treat them as one of their own, people who will not be racist to them because they are the same. Where can we go, Gary? Look at this. Look. Where can we go? Because as goes London, so the rest of the country is going to go. And I don't want this for my children. I don't want my children to become a minority in England, Gary. Now, I know that you're sat there going, wow, that's so racist. Wow, that's so racist. And I'm sat here saying, one, I don't think that is racist. And two, I don't care if you think that's racist. You complain that your friends were like, oh my God, there are 1 million racists on the streets of London. I'm afraid to leave the house. Well, they have options. They have a place that they can go. When the Muslim Defence League is marching through my town or whatever town, or when I'm just looking at it's such a strange event to walk through Swindon Town Centre at the moment. And you just see people from all over the world. They don't know each other. They're just like lost souls. The nomads of globalism who are now in my town. And I know I'm paying for them because I know they don't have jobs. Because they sit around drinking coffee all day, doing nothing, day after day. And I've got to be like, okay, yeah, what am I? Oh, I'm not going to be a racist. Because God forbid. It's like, no, I want these people to go home. I want the English to possess England as their collective patrimony. This is our country, not their country. And if your friends from overseas are like, you know what, I'm just really scared now, they can go somewhere where they're not scared. They have options. We do not have options. That's what this all boils down to. This is the only home we have. Those people that you're talking about, they have a choice. And so, well, you say, well, you need to cast the racists out of your movement. You don't even know what racism means. You can't define racism. If you define it as just irrational hatred against people from a different race, then almost no one on earth is a racist. Almost no one on earth has an irrational hatred of people of another race, or any other race, all of the races, for no reason. That's not what racism means in the current day parlance. Racism means, in this current day, thinking that people belong to a place. And I think the English belong to England, and England belongs to us. And so all you can think of now is, wow, this guy is a racist. But I don't think my heart is full of hate. I don't have hatred. I don't have an irrational hatred or fear or loathing of anyone because of their skin color or anything like that. I like seeing other countries. I just like seeing them when I choose to see them. When I go on holiday to another country, I like engaging with a different culture and customs and attitudes and seeing what things are like. And then I like coming home to what's familiar, to what's mine, to where I belong. So where I know my children will be safe and they will grow up in a country that was very similar to the one I grew up in, and they will inherit from me and us that which I think was good and made me what I am today. And I'm very proud of the person that I am today, and I want to pass that on. I do not want to give that up to people, as you said, who have other countries. And if you can't understand why that's so important, well, I guess there's nothing further to say, is there? But this is why I think you actually are a radical leftist, because a normal person has a sense of things that are non-material. And if you don't, then maybe you need to look inward and you need to think about that yourself. This is something that is deficient within you, not within us. And that's the issue. And you say, well, you need to find unity. You need to find common ground. There's room in our movement for you. And it's like, well, I mean, my movement's currently at 33% in the polls and yours at 13% in the polls. We're in a first past the post, winner takes all situation. Farage is probably going to get a majority come the next election. Why do we need you? Why don't we actually point to you and say, well, you know what, if you can actually begin to think of things beyond the mere material and understand that we have a spiritual connection to this place, we have a sentimental bond, and we have the obligation and duty to carry England from the deep past through the now and into the future. If you can't understand that's our obligation, then we don't have room for you. And again, if your pitch to us is, look at London, this is the future of this country, or else I'm going to call you a racist, then get calling me a racist, Gary, because this is not going to be the future of the country for my kids.